advertisement. Rachel Lindsay has publicly called out Chris Harrison, 2 days after the longtime Bachelor host apologized for perpetuating racism within the friend. During Thursday's episode of the Higher Learning with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay podcast, Lindsay, who became the first Black Bachelorette in 2017, spoke out against Harrison after he seemingly defended current contestant Rachel Kirkconnell amid backlash over her past racist behavior. Harrison made the remarks in question during a 14-minute, unedited interview with Lindsay on Extra this week. Get push notifications with news, features and more. Follow and yell. Get the latest updates on this topic in your browser notification. I can't take it anymore, Lindsay, 35, said of her future with the show. I'm contractually bound in some ways, but when it's up, I can't do it anymore. The controversy began when Kirkconnell, a frontrunner on Matt James' currently airing season of, was called out for old social media posts which saw her dressed in Native American attire as a costume and attending an antebellum plantation. She has since apologized. Harrison, 49, addressed the situation on Tuesday while speaking with Lindsay on Extra, telling her, in part, that we should all have a little grace, a little understanding, a little compassion. In the wake of his comments didn't sit well with a number of fans, even resulting in a petition calling for him to be removed from the. In a statement on Wednesday, Harrison apologized for wrongly speaking in a manner that perpetuates racism. But Lindsay is having a really hard time accepting the apology, she said on Hype. When I finished that interview with Chris Harrison, he had no problems with it. He was fine. He texted me after. He appreciated the conversation. He was like, yeah, he'll probably get a little flack, but thought it was great that we could disagree but do it in a civil. It wasn't until the backlash came the next day, it wasn't until people start talking, people start demanding and calling for different things, that he then apologized to me and then apologized. I'm trying to reason, well, which one is it? Lindsay continued. Because to me, Tuesday was your truth and Wednesday is after the fact. Wednesday was a response to the backlash. During that whole conversation, he had the audacity to question. During that conversation, he talked over me and at me. During that conversation, his privilege was on. He never gave me room to talk, and he never gave me room to share my perspective. He wasn't trying to hear it, he was just trying to be heard. And I'm not saying that he can't be apologetic, I'm not saying that he can't learn and be better from it, like he said in his statement, but y'all have to give me some space, and y'all have to give me some compassion and some grace to take the time to really reason, because that was a lot. Spokespersons for Harrison and ABC did not have a comment when reached by People Friday. As Rachel Kirkconnell apologizes for past racist actions, I was wrong. Lindsay said she decided to sit back and let Harrison talk during their interview because she needed people to see and hear. There were some people who said, why didn't I press harder? So I do want to address this. People of color are not given the benefit of the doubt. And it is a struggle being a black woman on I have to stay calm, I cannot react, I cannot show emotion, she continued. And the reason is, once I do that, that is all. I will be angry, I will be aggressive, you will not hear what I'm saying, you will not hear what the other person, Chris Harrison in this instance, you will only see the reaction. And when I saw how this interview was going, I said, I'm just going to sit back, and I'm just going to let this man, I'm going to hold it together, I'm going to poke just a little bit. Lindsay pointed out that there was no PR on the nobody to tell us to stop, nobody to tell us to cut some things out, so we played the interview in its entirety on YouTube. It was as if Chris Harrison woke up and said, you know what? I'm just going to be myself today, she said. I had to stay calm, because I needed people to see and hear what was happening. I wanted to react so badly, and if you pay attention to that video, I'm moving my hands together, my foot is moving, because I'm boiling inside. And the things that were boiling to me the most were the compassion and the grace and the space that Chris Harrison wanted to give to Rachel but couldn't give to this Rachel in the interview. Couldn't give it to the people that were offended by the things that she did. Where was the compassion for them? What I wanted to shout in that conversation, who are you? Who are you to say something? Because you aren't the person who's been offended by the very actions that she is affiliated with, by the things she has done. Who is Rachel Lindsay? Rachel Lindsay is a black woman, the very person who is affected by this Rachel. So I have every right to speak out and say I'm offended. And I have every right to demand the apology. Given that Harrison is the face of the franchise, Lindsay said, his statements are indicative of larger issues with people go to him for his opinion on what's going on within the franchise, for production and what's happening with contestants, she said. So if Hess speaking out in an interview, in this way, to discuss things related to the Bachelor franchise, then what does that really say about the franchise? What does the franchise really represent and mean? If this is your face, this is your spokesperson, and this is what he really feels. She went on to argue that the social media statement Harrison shared is not evidence that he, or the franchise, will actually do better when it comes to addressing. Harrison said, "I promise to do better. I need people to stop making these What does that look like? What does doing better look like? How are you going to be better? That is what I want to know." You putting out a statement and disappearing for a few days, weeks, how is Chris Harrison going to be better? Can that please be the next tweet, the next post, of you telling me what you did wrong, because I need to see it, and then how you're going to be better. When co-host Lathan asked where the current controversy puts her within the franchise, Lindsay acknowledged that while her experience with the show benefited her in ways, notably, it introduced her to now husband Brian Abasolo, she has had enough. As far as me, I'm tired, she said. I'm exhausted. I have truly had enough. My entire reason for doing The Bachelorette, and I was lucky it worked out for me in the most beautiful way, in finding Brian, is that I wanted to be representative as a black woman to this audience, and I wanted to pave the way for more people to have this opportunity. In some ways, that I wanted the franchise to be better. I have a love-hate relationship with it. In Connect, it did stuff for me, and I'll never forget that, she continued. But how much more do I want to be affiliated with this? How much more can I take of things like this? I said I was going to leave if they didn't have leads of. Okay, they did that, and they made some other changes. They hired a diversity consultant. Did Chris Harrison not sit through that? Several other contestants within the franchise have spoken out in support. On Thursday, the 25 BIPOC contestants from James' season issued a statement via Instagram on them. They began, "We are the women of Bachelor Season 25. 25 women who identify as BIPOC were cast on this historic season that was meant to represent. We are deeply disappointed and want to make it clear that we denounce any defense of race. Any defense of racist behavior denies the lived and continued experiences of BIPOC, and if these experiences are not to be exploited or tokenized." Rachel Lindsay continues to advocate with grace for individuals who identify as BIPOC within this franchise. Just because she is speaking the loudest, doesn't mean she is alone. We stand with her, we hear her, and we advocate for change alongside her. And on Friday, a group of male contestants from a most recent season of, led by Claire Crawley followed by her mid-season replacement Shia Adams, issued their own. As members of Season 16 of The Bachelorette, it is important that we acknowledge where we stand at this time, that we had the opportunity to be a part of one of the most diverse casts in the history of the addition of more people who identify as BIPOC has opened up the conversation on race, community, and who we are as people. A conversation that has been long overdue. We stand united in denouncing racist behavior and any defense. We also stand united with the women of Season 25 of, who have denounced the same. Moreover, we stand united with Rachel Lindsay, who has led the way,